Welcome to Storytime in Hubbleville. Today we're reading Thurston T. Turtle Moves to Hubbleville, Chapter 1, A Stranger in Town. It was late afternoon in the humble town of Hubbleville. All the farmers had just finished watering seeds in their fields. Children played in budding woods among brilliant pale greens, soft purples, and sunny yellows of spring. Summer vacation was creeping closer. Warmer weather and longer, sunnier days had finally arrived. It seemed everyone in Hubbleville was humming or singing, laughing or grinning. As the last rays of the sun settled beneath the horizon and children scattered into their homes for supper, a stranger was seen walking toward town. In a country town as small as Hubbleville, a stranger stuck out like a giant orange pumpkin in the middle of a strawberry patch. Mr. Frogson, a stout, balding banker, still dressed in his dark blue three-piece suit, crisp white shirt, striped tie, and leather shoes, was the first to notice the newcomer. Mr. Bunnyton, a tall, lean farmer who was sitting with Mr. Frogson on the bench outside the corner store at the intersection of Cashew Street and Dusty Drive, as they did most evenings after a long day of work, followed Mr. Frogson's gaze. "I wonder where he is headed," said Mr. Bunnyton as he brushed some dust off his denim overalls, straightened the collar on his red and yellow flannel shirt, and then ran a hand over his brown, slightly graying hair. "He could just be passing through, though I'm sure he'll spend the night here in Hubbleville. It's getting a little late for traveling," replied Mr. Frogson. Both gentlemen kept gazing down the street, even as they spoke to one another, unable to take their eyes off the approaching stranger. A gentle breeze danced with the corners of the stranger's knee-length, light brown overcoat. Underneath, he wore a pleated blue pants and dark green casual shirt. His brown boots were kicking up small puffs of dust as he made his way toward the gentleman on the bench. His eyes were round and inquisitive, yet friendly. The stranger carried a small, worn suitcase that had enough room for a couple of changes of clothes, a toothbrush, and a few small items. The stranger walked up to Mr. Frogson and Mr. Bunnyton and politely interrupted. "Excuse me, gentlemen." Then he asked, "Could you please direct me to the nearest hotel in Hubbleville?" "Well, sir," began Mr. Bunnyton, "we don't exactly have a hotel in Hubbleville." "No, we don't," agreed Mr. Frogson, "but there is an inn on Dusty Drive just 2 doors down." "Thank you very much, gentlemen," the stranger said as he extended his hand. "I'm Thurston T. Turtle from Tuckertown." Mr. Frogson shook Mr. Turtle's hand. "Pleased to meet you, Mr. Turtle. I'm Phil Frogson, and this is my dear friend, Benjamin Bunnyton." Mr. Turtle shook Mr. Bunnyton's hand, tipped his fancy city-type hat, thanked them again for the information, and then headed toward the Hubbleville Inn. "I had to visit Tuckertown just last year on bank business," said Mr. Frogson to Mr. Bunnyton after Mr. Turtle disappeared through the doors of the inn. "Is it a big town?" asked Mr. Bunnyton. "It's a sizable city, actually. Big buildings, lots of people, buses and trains. The works," replied Mr. Frogson. "It will be interesting having a visitor from Tuckertown here in Hubbleville." Mr. Bunnyton nodded in agreement. I hope you'll join me for Chapter 2 in our next video.